Okay, I got it. I think we're recording. Did everybody get a chance to watch some of the videos from the teachers? Good. Well, the previous email that came out had a part of our tour, typically for open house for the kindergartners, is to show you how much more there is for them to do in our environment. They have, based on their skill level, they have reached a handful of the materials, but in each room, there's so much more that typically kindergartners get to versus the pre-Ks. So the videos give each teacher a chance to show you their room and kind of highlight some of the things that the kindergartners will be doing. I have an additional part because I am the kindergarten homeroom teacher. So I have other things that they do with me that aren't just the room. That's why I have a room video, but I also have this Zoom to answer any questions and to tell you a little bit about specifically our curriculum as a kindergartner. So the first thing that you all got was the why Terry's for kindergarten. So you've got the videos and this other piece, and I'm going to run through some of these pretty quickly, and then I'm going to talk to you about specifically what do they do as a kindergartner versus a pre-K. So we've had the children already, some of your children just for a year, and some of them we've had since 8 weeks old, 3 months old, for a really long time. So we have gotten to see them develop and learn who they are as they've grown up. So the kindergarten piece, there's a portion of the beginning of the year where you need to figure out who the child is, how they learn best, what's where are they actually academically? What are they tricking you on? And the main part I'd like to say for that is they come in at all different levels, and it's our job to figure that out. We don't need 3 months to figure that out. We don't need a month to figure that out. Children who stay for kindergarten continue their curriculum throughout the summer with exactly where they're at and what they need. And then they go right into the school year doing exactly what they need. There isn't let's back up and reteach everything. That only happens when that's needed for a particular children or a particular child, not as a set curriculum. My curriculum each year starts where each group is. So I don't have presentations that I always do in September or August for kindergartners. Some years I'm starting with FAL teams, and some years I'm still, I'm working on getting everybody on 3-letter words. So it just depends on where the children are and what they need. And that looks different every year. So no time is needed to figure that out. We already know it. The curriculum goes as far as the child needs it to go. So, you've heard us say many times, our curriculum is from pre-K to 3rd grade. We cover everything in the core curriculum that was brought out a few years ago, and everything in Montessori. And then we've added all these other pieces in there to help children learn according to their style. If one method doesn't work, we have a variety that we use in order to help the learning stay fun for your child, as well as let them reach their potential in each of the areas. With different teachers teaching to their passion, you have a better chance of that happening. If, Allie really likes math and she's teaching math, again, the advantage of her teaching math is she's got the Montessori from us and the public expectation of how they're teaching math. She's been able to combine those two. So again, your children go in knowing those two different approaches. So the curriculum just keeps going based on where the children are. At Terry's, we have 9 teachers with 47 children. So you could do the math. That is less than a 1-to-6 ratio. With that ratio, we are able to do the small groupings. I have groups now where there are 9 children in the group, and we break it down into a group and 4 and 5, because not everybody in that group is ready for the right presentation. So then the things that they're hearing are and learning for that day are really relative to what they need next to help them keep moving forward. So that ratio has allowed us to do a lot of different things. It also allows the teacher to keep teaching instead of pulling out children for the assessments all the time. We have the floaters who do the assessments, and we're able to do more of that on a regular basis because we have those extra bodies. We have teachers who can pull out the little ones who need repetition more often of letters or numbers so that they can hopefully, through repetition, be able to get those skills a little bit faster versus just getting it when they hit that classroom. There is consistency of care. You have, our environment is 7 to 5:30. So I gotta change that on my form. It says 7 to 6, 7 to 5:30. And it is, every year you don't have before care, you don't have after care, you don't have to figure out their homework. It's all within the time frame there at school. There's no movement, there's no extra transitions. You have the same teachers when you arrive. They're all working 9-hour days, so you see your person either at the beginning or the end of the day at the door. And if you don't, you can text them, but you have that one group of people who are with them all day. You have a number of days closed. Wyoming has at least 30 days, not this year. We can't even talk about the COVID year. So a normal year, they have 30 days that they're closed at least. We had 13, and then when we added Good Friday, we had 14. So the number of days that we're closed versus a public school is going to be a lot less, and less figuring out of what you do with those days that your children are at home. Children who need movement, who are young by nature, they have an extra year to developmentally grow, to gain in maturation, to get control of their impulses, to get a learning style that will allow them to move across the room and, come and get another sound and go place it where they need to be. While their body is getting under control and they're growing, they have another year that works with that. You have many specials that are offered throughout the day. If you think about, you have sign language, you have kinder music, you have an art program, you have soccer shots, Webby dance, yoga, technology, those things. The Webby and the soccer shots, you do have to sign up for it, but the other things are all included in the program. There's no transferring them, coming and getting them early to get to wherever they need to be. It's all here for you during the day. Character Ed is a big part of our program. We have Kim and Gara that teach that concept every week, making sure, there's 4 or 5 weeks on fairness or 4 or 5 weeks on self-control. We take that character and we all talk about it on a more regular basis. We bring up the language, we talk, what is fair? You're learning about fair. Let's talk about, would this be fair? And giving different examples. A lot of hard concepts for young 4-year-olds to get, but we're definitely getting it introduced and working on it. At Terry's, kindergartners get to be the oldest. It's the only opportunity they get for a while to be the oldest. If you have a child that could benefit from being a leader, from being able to set the example, to model for others, and that would help build their self-esteem. Being a kindergartner at Terry's means you're the oldest. You get to take on that role. Your job, it's talked a lot about in our homeroom, is to support others, to help others, to present to others, to be the model for the environment, to show somebody where the bathroom is, and to give a presentation to a younger child. Even within our kindergarten homeroom, we've used our kindergartners to teach each other different concepts that one may know that another one didn't know. Really promoting that so that they walk out confident and feeling very capable of, they can do anything. They hear me say all year long, oh my goodness, you're going to be so smart when you go into public or into, depending on the child, another kindergarten year, or when you leave me for pre-K, really working on their self-esteem. So kindergarten year really gives them a chance to boost that up. And a lot of children could use that year before going into that bigger arena. And then eventually we hope to have that open environment where we can get you all back into the environment, working with your children, coming to breakfasts, going on field trips and all that good stuff. So really making you a part of the environment by even at the end of the day, picking up and coming all the way in to help work with your child in the environment. That's our goal once we get past all of this other stuff that's going on. Now, as far as K expectations, what do we do as a kindergartner? Kindergartners are asked to come in typically by 8:15. I'm there at 7:30. The earlier, the better. Our job in the morning is they have to read aloud to me every day. So reading aloud is critical at this age so that one, I can see their fluency, but also to see what spelling patterns they're having difficulty with so that we can guide their learning when they go to do the work off the shelf to the right skills to make those pieces stronger for them. They also have to do a sight word packet. A sight word packet, we go through the pre-primer and then the primer sight words, which is really pre-K and kindergarten sight words. And then we just take off into first, second, and third grade sight words. So those sight word packets are 10 pages, 5 pages front and back, and the child uses this piece for time management. Think of your pre-Ks having to organize this, but kindergartners are often able to do it. They look at that packet and they think, okay, if I do front and back page every day, I will have an equal amount to do every day. They have the ability to change that up. They can say, I'm going to do 3 pages today. I'm going to do 2 pages front to back. But maybe their goal is they don't want to have to do extra work on Friday. They want to freely choose or play a game on Friday. So they're going to manage that expectation and get that packet done when they want to. I have children who get it done right away. Now, that's also monitored. So they can't get it done right away and do it sloppy and lots of mistakes. So we talk about accuracy and taking their time and doing it to their best ability. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. So if they get real sloppy, they start the page over. So it's a great time management tool, but they work on that every single week. They also have their journals. Once the kindergartners get to a certain point where they're writing sentences, they start their journal writing. They have a journal that I make for them, and it starts at beginning of the school year and goes all the way to the end. All the pages are theme related to the concepts we have in the building or the holidays or the seasons, and they vary from word banks where they have to use the words in sentences to filling in the blanks to writing a story. They start off at the beginning of the year with 1 sentence. They very quickly have to go to 3 sentences. And before you know it, you have children writing stories where it's not done. The story's not done. 3 sentences didn't tell me anything. So I ask them questions and they go back and they build on their stories. And you really find out who enjoys writing and who kind of takes off with that concept. So those are their 3 morning pieces that they do every morning before we get to morning meeting. Then when we get to morning meeting, their calendar is a lot more in depth. So we have where they count out, say, 105 days of school. They need to do that with money. Can they give me 105 in change or $1.05? How many ways can we make 105? Then they do it with the bead bars from the math room. We do it in expanded form. So we learn, the weather in sign language. We do the calendars, the days of the week, the months of the year, all in sign language. And they have to fill out the chart on their own. They go up. The calendar is pretty independent for the kindergartners. They turn the pages on the smart board. They go to the next screen, and they get a lot of control of it. And they truly enjoy that part. Second meeting, when you get to second meeting, we have a whole morning worth of work time, but then we have second meeting where you have your character ed, you have your music, your technology, your sign language, all of those pieces fill in. And then we also have our 12 to 12:30 time after they've gotten out and played a little bit and eaten. We have our chapter book where we're either doing sharing bag or we're doing chapter books and we're reading a book together and predicting what's going to happen next. We do a lot of story comprehension with that, asking who can remember what happened just in the last chapter. Oh, somebody else read that chapter and I missed it. Who can fill me in? And they all give me different pieces, and asking questions about that. So as they hear that in the chapter books and prepare for story comprehension, they then move into that. When they're a strong enough reader, they're going to do that with their books that they read in the classroom. Okay. We have buddy reader bags for the kindergartners as well. They used to be called our Katie and Sadie bags, where they took home a stuffed animal. Our new version is the buddy bag, where they take 5 books that I have chosen for them to practice reading for fluency and accuracy home, and they can read it to everybody in the home, or a friend or a grandparent. But they read it as often as they can, hoping to read it faster and master the words in those books. Then they bring the book back and they exchange them with me. So we have those that can rotate through your house as often and as quickly as your children want to get them read. We have 12:30 to 1:30. There is no nap for kindergartners. So they have 2 K art days, where you heard about that from Kim in her video, where they really dive into a different artist and they learn all about their style, and then they create some pieces in the style of that artist. They're all for an art show that we put on at the end of the year at their graduation. And definitely most kindergartners say the favorite part about kindergarten year was their art program. So a great art program with Kim. So there's 2 days where they do K enrichment with Kim. Another day they do journal writing, which includes that informative writing, the different type of writing styles that Rachel talked about. She has them for one of the days, and one day Allie has them for math extensions. So a little variety there. Every year it's a little different. Last year we had an enrichment with science and geography. We'll see what happens for next year. But again, a favorite part is not napping. They love that part. Let's see, they're typically, if we can get back on track sometime soon, there are 7 field trips for the kindergartners versus the 3 for the pre-K. In the past, we've had the 3 Schoolhouse Symphonies and the 3 Mother's Nature. 3 Mother's Nature, she was willing to work with us and have all the presentations outside this year. So we were able to keep those, and we would look to obviously take those again next year. But we do them at the way beginning of the year and the way end of the year. So hopefully weather-wise, we don't miss out on that. But we have rain dates as well. But we're hoping to include all of those things back in as quickly as we can. Those field trips in the past have been Newport Aquarium, Gorman's Farm, Caldwell Nature Center, the Children's Theater and Graders, where we go and watch a musical, Lunken Airport, and the Art Museum and Zoo. We do, with the kindergartners, 3 DIBELS assessments to check and see where they are with fluency of naming letters, reading nonsense words. This gives you some benchmark indicators or risk factors on how their reading is coming along. And then you have 3 handwriting with without tears assessments to let you see how they're doing with K readiness. But in kindergarten, it's ranked nationally. So it gets inputted into the computer, and they score your child's handwriting versus the writing assessment you got at the first conference. It's a little different. Those don't get inputted anywhere, but it just kind of shows you what they're still working on. Okay. So some K goals, what I give for everybody. Academics is a given. We're academically driven in all the areas. So I'm going to not talk about that at this moment. But the K goals I talk to them a lot about is time management. Really trying to figure out how they can use their time wisely while they're doing their work period. You know, who do they sit next to? How do they separate from those they want to socialize with? There's a time to work and there's a time to play. The goal is that when they get all done with us, that they can walk into any environment and be able to adapt their behavior accordingly, so that they know when the teacher says go to their desk and get their work done, that they can do that independently. When they say go to the game rug and play a game on this concept, that they can do that without difficulty socially, and that they can stay on track. So we've got a lot of big jobs for their kindergarten year, but that's one of them. Critical thinking skills. You can see the children as they mature through this year. The very young child opens up that sound box and they have a hard time putting those objects in the right spot, even though they know letters and sounds, because to them, that horse is nothing but a horse. Whereas the kindergartner will look at that and say, well, there's no H in this box, so it can't be a horse. I bet it's a mule because it's an MATC box. That critical thinking, that ability to rethink, what could this be possibly called? The thinking process over the 2 years that they're at 209 varies hugely. And those kindergartners really learn to think a little differently, and pushing them critically to ask the questions, to figure it out, to not just come and say, what do I do? What's the answer? Having them go back and try to figure that out on their own. They can use the resources in the classroom. We will often say, Courtney, I need help. Well, ask a friend, see who else in the room can help you finish up that work, and using each other's strengths. So that's a great part of our community piece, which is my next point. Community building is huge in kindergarten. We want them to be aware they are the leaders. We have to take care of each other. We have to make sure that that if somebody needs help, that we get them the help that they need, and not just when they have a boo-boo, but also when they're struggling in a concept. When a child gets a book for the first time and they're reading for the first time, celebrating that they get into a book versus saying, oh, well, that book's really easy. That takes time to teach that, because naturally they get excited that they're on the blue set, not the red set. So retraining them to celebrate the wins of everybody. The leadership we just talked about, and the character ed, embracing each character each month and really trying to model it for the other children. So some parents over the year have brought different points to this meeting as to questions or concerns. One that I've heard on a somewhat yearly basis is socially. If my child stays for kindergarten at Terry's, then they will be out of the social group. They will miss the connections that are made at kindergarten in public or wherever you're looking. And then they will no longer be in the right group socially. I've had many children leave Terry's and have gone into public and have been able to socialize beautifully and find their group. There have been many children who have gone into public and reconnected with children that they went to preschool with, or children, that are now in first grade. They found each other again and are super excited. Story after story every year. You have children who have gone to kindergarten tier that are still best friends at graduation their senior year. So socially, missing whoever's in that kindergarten group will not put your child behind socially. They adapt far more easily than sometimes us adults do. So that's my point to that. Some parents have said, okay, they're going to go in too smart. If they go to Terry's for another year, they're already doing well. They're going to be too smart going into public, and that'll just make them bored, and then there'll be a behavior issue. Well, if they were going to be a behavior issue, they were probably already having some of those behaviors in kindergarten at Terry's or in preschool at Terry's. Those are all things everybody works on. We work on having the child make the right choice at any given time. All teachers are working on that. Whether you're in first grade, you're in third grade, the behavior just changes based on the age. So, I don't think you can go in too smart. What you have to figure out is, how can the school that you're going into accommodate that reader? I have children who leave me who are reading chapter books. I always feel that first grade is a better grade to accommodate all of those differentiated strengths in the children, primarily because kindergarten teachers in public have really a huge struggle. They could have 18 to 24 children in one classroom, and they could vary from not knowing any letters not having separated from mom and dad to go to a school setting, all the way up to reading chapter books. I have children leaving that read that well. There are children, when I volunteered in the classroom at first grade for my 3 children, there were children who came into Wyoming reading that well. That teacher has a big, big job to be able to get all of those children ready for first grade, and to differentiate their learning can be hard. And every school, that's a question you need to ask. If you're looking at Wyoming or Seven Hills or whatever district you're in, what accommodations can the program that you're looking at do for those children coming in with all different abilities? Okay, so K readiness, there will be questions. January, we use from now until February 5th to send out your MRX conference updates. And that will tell you where your child is on the goals set at the beginning of the year. The social emotional piece will be where there's a summary of everything, kind of telling you where we think they are right now, and if there are any concern areas. So you'll want to look at that. But each, I think it was in the newsletter, 2 groups, 4 and 5, come out this Friday. I'll be emailing those out. If everybody's got them updated for me, then I will be emailing those out to you. And then on the next week, group 3 goes out. The following week, group 4, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. 3 goes out, and then the following week, group 2, and then February 5th is the last week, and that's kindergartners, because they already know what they're doing for next year. But you can look at that as a glance into readiness if you have any questions about that. Also, we'd be happy to meet with any of you if you have questions about readiness, or you just want to talk about your child a little bit at this time of the year. We're more than happy to do that. You can call the office and schedule a conference with Carol Ann. Like always, we can do it virtually, or we can do it in person at the office. So let's see what else. Other things, moving forward, you just have to look at where your child is and what you want for them for next year. You know, some of the children are going to go in beautifully and not struggle at all. Some children will go in and will need some support, and you got to figure out how you can get them that support. And some children are going to need supplement work because they're, you know, they've got a lot of that under their belt. They're going to go in kindergarten. They typically go through the letters one at a time, so that the children who don't have letters can get caught up. So, you know, those will be moments where you're going to want some of your children, as I look at some of the names, you're going to want some supplemental work available for them that they can do during that time. So you have to just think about, what do you want that year to look like? Again, I think first grade is a much easier year as far as the teacher still has to work really hard at it, but I think that you're at a better place as far as getting some more differentiated learning going on in the first grade. Just the way I saw it set up in Wyoming, there were more things that they could do. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions and see if there was something I didn't answer. I may have. And you can just turn off your mic and ask the question, or you can put it in the chat. But the room is not too full, so I think everybody probably wants to hear your question. No questions?
No, you've done a good, thorough job. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good.
Well, I guess maybe how many do you guys average kindergarten year to year?
You know, I've had anywhere from 5 one year. That was my lowest number. A lot of years we have 9. Quite a few years I've had 11, 13, 15. If the group gets too big, we end up having 2 groups that are kindergarten age children. I'm the homeroom teacher for both, but I will team up with another teacher so that they have another space we can break them up into smaller work groups. So I think, I don't know when exactly Wyoming's timeframe is, but you'll want to look at your registration dates. Our papers, I think, are due on the 29th. As far as getting those forms in, hopefully we've given you enough information that you feel like you can fill out that form. And then I think first grade is a little bit later, so not to worry about that if you have an older child. Okay. Do most of the kiddos go to Wyoming after finishing kindergarten, Terry's? Yes, a lot of our children go to Wyoming. Probably 85, 90% of our population is from Wyoming. But there's, at least two or three in each group that are going somewhere else. So at least in my kindergarten group right now, I've got at least 3 out of 11. Okay, guys, don't see any other questions. Feel free to call the office if you want to set up a meeting and talk about your child specifically, or just text me or call me and we can have a phone conversation. Otherwise, have a great night. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.